31st of August 2020. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke, chapter 4, verses 16 to 30. Jesus came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day, as he usually did. He stood up to read, and they handed him the scroll of the prophet Isaiah. Unrolling the scroll, he found the place where it is written, "The Spirit of the Lord has been given to me, for he has anointed me. He has sent me to bring the good news to the poor, to proclaim liberty to captives, and to the blind new sight, to set the downtrodden free, to proclaim the Lord's year of favor." He then rolled up the scroll, gave it back to the assistant, and sat down. And all eyes in the synagogue were fixed on him. Then he began to speak to them. The text is being fulfilled today, even as you listen. And he won the approval of all, and they were astonished by the gracious words that came from his lips. They said, "This is Joseph's son, surely." But he replied, "No doubt you will quote me the saying, 'Physician, heal yourself,' and tell me, we have heard all that happened in Capernaum. Do the same here in your own countryside." And he went on, "I tell you solemnly, no prophet is ever accepted in his own country. There are many widows in Israel, I can assure you. In Elijah's day, when heaven remained shut for 3 years and 6 months, and a great famine raged throughout the land, but Elijah was not sent to any of these. He was sent to a widow in Zarephath, a Sidonian town. And in the prophet Elisha's time, there were many lepers in Israel, but none of these were cured except the Syrian Naaman." When they heard this, everyone in the synagogue was enraged. They sprang to their feet and hustled him out of the town, and they took him up to the brow of the hill their town was built on, intending to throw him down the cliff. But he slipped through the crowd and walked away. The Gospel of the Lord. This Gospel reading is very interesting. In the first part of it, it talks about the time when Jesus was handed the scroll on Sabbath. And you read the passage in Isaiah where it says, "The Spirit of the Lord has been given to me, for he has anointed me. He has sent me to bring the good news to the poor, to proclaim liberty to captives, and to the blind new sight, to set the downtrodden free, to proclaim the Lord's year of favor." It seems to reflect the calling that we all have as Christians, to bring good news to the poor, to proclaim liberty to captives, sight to the blind, and set the downtrodden free. We are called as Christians to help those in need. We may ask ourselves, how do we do this? How do we help those in need? How do we bring good news to the poor? In terms of poor, or those who have not been exposed to what is what their capacities are. We know that God has given equal intellect to all races, to all humankind. But not everyone is able to use their intellect, and it's not because they don't want to, but they don't know how. So how do we bring the good news to the poor? We can show them how they can use their intellect, how they can use the means that we have, if we know how ourselves, to come out of their poverty, to escape their poverty. Our words can do a lot. It's not just through our giving to charities that we can help them. We can help them through sharing our knowledge. Most often also we find that the reason that they're not able to come out of their poverty is because of their limitations in their mindset. And this is because they think they're not able to. Here too, we can encourage them. We can tell them things people of their own kind have come out. We can show them examples. We can tell them examples of how people in similar situations have come up, and this oftentimes breaks the invisible glass, the limiting beliefs that they have, so that they can come out of their poverty. So we are called really to encourage them and to teach them how people can come out of their limiting beliefs and poverty. It's not just the poor. We can also say the same to our friends, our colleagues who are going through depressing times, because all of us need words of encouragement. Then Jesus goes on to say about how the prophet is not accepted in his own area, in his own country. And he gave us example of how Elijah and Elisha were asked by God to go to a different part of the country to minister. That too happens very often in our own circumstances when we know it, as we know it. When sometimes our own families don't have beliefs in us because they have seen us grow, or if you have been working in a certain position of a company, in a certain post, and then you have taken a course to expand your knowledge, or you have gained new skills that gives you the ability to move on to better things, to do better things in your life, and you find that the acceptance from the people in your community, the people whom you have grown up with, are not as accepting as you would hope for them to be. And that is quite normal, and that is quite acceptable, because the people are used to a certain way of accepting another person. They have labels in their heads. Now, the message is really, I believe, for us to be able to give opportunities and not label people in a certain way, and give them hope and gives them encouragement to see beyond what we knew of them before, and think of them as people who give them an opportunity, give them a chance to prove themselves, give them a chance to prove that they have changed, they have become better persons of themselves, because all of us can become better. and it will make easier for ourselves and others if we are just able to accept others in new light, see them in new light. God bless your Monday.